What's happening, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of The Final Third. As always, it is your boy Sam, aka FIFA Brit, and I am joined by my favorite gentleman in the whole wide world, MrBradThomas, and Betting the Pitch. Well, gentlemen, the Premier League season is over, and I just want to say congratulations to Man City on winning the Premier League title. And in addition, I want to congratulate Lance Armstrong on his 7th Tour de France. Well done. These are equal competitors, fantastic achievements, absolutely nothing shady going on. And we can call it there. But anyway, what did you guys think about it?
I think that the highlight of my entire week was waking up. I wake up like around, 6:45. I go on Twitter. I normally check Twitter. It's the first thing I do. And I see Sam has a comment on something. And it already has 200 replies. It's not even breakfast time yet. And Sam's thread has 200 replies. That was the start of an amazing day because I just kept getting alerts. Sam sent a message. Sam sent a message. I said, Sam's boss better not check his Twitter feed or man might be out of job because there was no way he was working.
Minimal work was being done.
Yeah, I mean, same thing. Opened up Twitter and under Fabrizio's post there is Sam, aka FIFA Brit, just with a comment that stirred the pot and upset a lot of people because it was like 40 shares, 200 plus comments, 1,000 plus likes, 250,000 views. I'm like, what the fuck did this guy say? And then you just go down the rabbit hole and this guy replies to every single person.
Oh yeah.
I mean, he had facts. He was posting pictures. I mean, everything, like fact checking everything. It was just, I mean, I don't know how you're still standing. Like, I would be exhausted. But you just went to battle.
I went to fucking war. Just in case you're listening and you're somehow not following me on Twitter and did not see this ridiculous comment, it was a response. It was a response to Fabrizio tweeting about Rodri, and Rodri's quote essentially was, Arsenal did an unbelievable season, but the difference was the mentality. When they came here, they didn't want to beat us. They just wanted to draw. And in no uncertain words, I basically said that's fucking bullshit because that's not what happened. And Rodri, it's so frustrating because everyone thinks I'm trying to slander Rodri as a player. No, I think he's a brilliant player. I think it's an absolute travesty that he wasn't nominated for Player of the Season, unlike that absolute fraud Phil Foden, who did somehow go on to win it. Rodri would have been my pick, him or Ollie Watkins. And I'm just like, no, I think Rodri's a great player. I just think he's got a fucking terrible attitude when he loses. And it's a common recurring thing too. It's not even just an Arsenal thing. Obviously that's what drew my attention to it, but he does this a lot. After Spain got knocked out of the World Cup by Morocco, he said that Morocco did nothing. He said, I don't want to disrespect Morocco, but
they didn't.
Yeah, but here's the thing. It doesn't matter. If you come up against a play style like that and you have 70% possession, double the shots and double the XG, and you don't fucking score, that's your fault. You can't then blame the opposition for effectively neutralizing your attack. I don't know. He made excuses when Spain got knocked out by Morocco. He made excuses when Madrid knocked out City in the Champions League. He said, today I only saw one team. Fuck off. And then he says the same thing about the Arsenal game, which, by the way, at least in the other two games, he made those quotes directly after the game. I get it. Maybe you're a little bit upset. Still think it's a shitty mentality. But if it's right after the game, fair enough. This man was asked about Man City's mentality after winning the league. And what does he go to? A game against Arsenal that they didn't win that happened 2 fucking months ago. Really? Do we, I hate using the word, I hate using the phrase rent-free because I think it's a thing that's, I think it's a thing that stupid people say when they're losing a debate. But if you're thinking about a league game against Arsenal after you win the fucking league, And you're not even asked about Arsenal. If he was asked about Arsenal, like if he was like, what edge does City have over Arsenal? How did you do this? Fair enough. That's an incredibly valid answer that I would still disagree with, but it's relevant to the question. He was asked just about City, and he starts talking about Arsenal. Like, dude, you so clear. It's such a recurring theme, and it's just like, oh.
I mean, honestly, I was going to say it sounds like Arsenal's just living rent free in his head.
Yes,
but it's like at the same time, I don't know. It is a poor mentality. I don't know why he even started talking about Arsenal's mentality when you just won, the Premier League. But man, you poked a lot of people. It was funny to read all the comments and just see you reply to every single one of them, and like you kept your cool on it. Like it's not like you're like cursing people out or anything, but like you're just like you're showing facts. I don't know, not to spend too much time on it, but it was interesting. It was crazy. I mean, it was cool to see you just trending under his post. So
I was in the mood for an argument. You can tell. Like if I start posting some very clearly provocative shit, it means I am in the mood to fucking fight people. And it is just incredibly hilarious how many City fans actually took the bait and started getting really pissy. Like, guys, you just won the league. Why are you on Twitter? Go celebrate. Like, I'm sorry, I didn't realize this league means so little to you that you need to log on to Twitter and start trying to defend Rodri for being a sore, like not even a sore loser, because it's not like they lost the game. It's just like whenever this man doesn't win, he never, ever, ever takes any sort of responsibility for himself, for his teammates, for the way that they played. It's never, oh, we should have converted our chances. It's always the other team didn't want to play us. It's like, no, they wanted to play you, and they played you really fucking well, dude. Like, I'm sorry that you couldn't convert your chances, but maybe take some fucking accountability. I don't know. So annoying.
I mean, aside from
I feel like he did it just to get at you,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I mean, aside from City winning that game, that bicycle kick goal was insane. I mean, it was going to take something insane to score against City, but that was an awesome goal, and I'm glad that West Ham were able to get at least one in that game. And make it somewhat interesting at half,
Yeah, because that Arsenal equalizer came at the exact same moment the West Ham goal came, and it was just like the atmosphere in the Emirates just like immediately shifted. I mean, my parents were at the game, and they were just like, "Oh, the vibes just changed. The vibes felt good."
Yeah. It made the second half of both games definitely interesting, which was awesome.
I mean, City were never going to lose that game, honestly, but
no, you never know though. I mean, a red card or something like that, you never know.
Yeah. Well, I'm over it. Also, just very funny that City fans are just like, oh, Arsenal fans are crying. Like, no, we came to terms with this like a month ago. Like when we lost to Villa, we were just like, okay, City are probably going to be perfect from here on out. So, it's probably done. We just got to keep winning all our games, which we did after that. So, we did our job, but it wasn't like we weren't prepared for this scenario. We were very much prepared. And at that point, I was just like, yeah, City are probably going to win the league because they're basically perfect. So it is what it is. So just very funny that they were just like looking for fights. It's just like, come on, guys, just go celebrate. You won the league and you knew you were going to win the league.
Sam over here picking fights. You know better than that, man.
Yeah, well, look, I can't help it if most people on Twitter are stupid.
What?
There are some crazy things out there. I mean, I also just think most people don't know what the word bottle means. I just think people use that word way too often. Like, you can't, out of the 3 teams challenging for the league, Arsenal did not bottle it. Like, City were the odds-on favorite to win the league. So if City had not won the league, they would have bottled it. But then after the City-Arsenal draw, Liverpool had even before that game, they were 7 or 8 points clear at one point in the season, and they were given like a 60 or 70% chance of winning the league from that position. And then they lost to Everton, they lost to Palace. Like, that's bottling the league. Arsenal losing one game in 2024 is not bottling the league. That's doing pretty fucking well and coming up short because of a very fine margin. Like that's not a bottle job. I just think
Arsenal had a great season.
Yeah,
I feel like I'm gonna have to give Sam some blood pressure medicine.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like they
might need
bottled it. I feel like they bottled it more last year than this year.
Last year,
you know.
Sure.
Last year,
I mean, this year,
case.
This year, I don't think they bottled it. I mean, there was a stretch of games that they could have won that they didn't, but that happens. And they had a great season. I mean, you finished finished second in the Premier League. It's pretty fucking good.
Exactly. We've come second. We've come second 2 years in a row now. We finished 2 points behind City, which is very impressive. I know you don't get much for it, but as someone who cares very deeply about Arsenal, that's massive signs of improvement. And it just came down to fine margins, and we're not really a fine margins team, whereas City are. And I mentioned this earlier. It really all came down to that stretch in December where we lost to Fulham, we lost to West Ham, we lost to Villa, and then it's just like some Arsenal fans, the more annoying ones on Twitter, are just like begging for these teams to take points off City. And it's just like, how can you beg Fulham? How can you beg Villa? How can you beg West Ham to take points off City if we couldn't fucking do that back in December? Like, if we're begging these teams to show up against, yes, they're dirty fucking cheats, but they are one of the best teams in the world on paper. And you can't ask these very small teams that any respectable title champion should defeat easily with one eye closed, which is what City did. You can't ask them to take points off City if we can't do that. We got no points off Villa out of a possible 6. We took 1 point off Fulham out of a possible 6. A winnable game against Spurs of all teams in the first, at home, that we drew 2-2, and then we go on to beat them away. Same thing with West Ham. We lose to West Ham 2-0 at home and then spank them 5 or 6-0 away. Those were very winnable games that we didn't win because we still didn't know what we were doing. I mean, the difference in Arsenal in 2023 versus 2024, that mid-season break, the trip to Dubai, light and day. I mean, God, it's so frustrating looking back at some of these lineups that we played in September. Like, you look at the lineup that Arsenal played against Spurs at home, and then you realize things like, oh, Rice came off injured at half-time. Wow, that's massive. You've got Eddie and Nketiah starting at striker. You've got Havertz at centre mid, which I think is I think most of us agree is a failed experiment at this point. Like, yes, he can play there. Should he play there? Probably not. Jorginho had to come on for Rice. And I like Jorginho, but he made the giveaway that cost us that game against Spurs. Fabio Vieira started at centre mid. Why? Like, I like him, but he's meant to be a super sub or to start in games where we need to rest Saka. He's not meant to start in centre mid at home against Spurs. So it's just frustrating because there are so many winnable opportunities where we could have taken more points and we didn't. So, anyone who says Arsenal could and should have done better, I agree with you. Like, everyone comes at me and is just like, Arsenal should have done better. I'm like, yes. And I've said that very publicly multiple times. Go check my timeline and search Arsenal or search the month December. Like, you'll see. You'll see there. But it is what it is. City got the job done, and it's hard to be upset about that. Apart from, obviously, the fact that they're giant fucking cheaters, of course.
I feel like we should have just, given Sam the mic 30 minutes. We don't say anything. We just look at him and smile.
I think that's what just happened, Brad.
No, I feel like you need a little bit longer. No. Sam, listen, I'll say this. City fans, and sorry, City fans, I'm not meaning to attack you because I know it's not all of you, but City fans don't know how to act, right? Like, you can't sit there and pretend that you're not massively spending. You're not breaking the rules. You have to do it with a little bit of class, right? Like, you're the best team on the planet, but are you using everything to your advantage to do so? Yes. So don't just sit on the internet and pretend that you're not. Listen, I'm an Alabama guy. Been an Alabama guy my whole life. So I know what City's going through, winning all the time. And I'm okay with knowing that, we had the best coach on the planet. I don't need to rub it in people's faces or say your team sucks, because in reality, the cards were stacked against almost every team that is playing against Alabama or playing against Manchester City. The fans just don't know how to win with class, and I think it just has to do with the fact that most of the fans have only been fans for like 5 years, so they haven't been through the shit times yet.
No, yeah. I mean, God, I mean, the last game, and I remember it very vividly because I think it was about the year that I moved to America. The last game that City played before that takeover went through and they got all their money. The last game of the Premier League season was against Middlesbrough, and Man City lost 8-1 to Middlesbrough. And that is the Man City that I grew up with. Like, that is Man City's identity. And just these people do not know what it's like. Like, if, you know, I've got a bit of respect for like the old guys who are like 60, 70 years old and they grew up with City being like a second, third division side. Fair enough. You know, I'm glad you're going to see a bit of success with your team before you die, even though you've obtained it most likely unfairly. But all the 14, 15-year-old kids just like logging online and just being all pissy about it. It's just like, yo, grow the fuck up. Go outside, touch some grass, please. I tell you what, though, I know I keep talking about, you know, City most likely cheating, and I think most people agree, apart from City fans. I think everyone else knows that with 115 charges, the odds of being innocent of all of them, incredibly unlikely. But here's a little fun fact for you guys. Bet365 opened up the markets on relegation, and a couple of other books have, but they've opened up the markets for futures for next season. And if you look at the relegation market, typically you see absurd odds on like the big teams. So Liverpool, 2,000 to 1 to get relegated. Arsenal, 2,000 to 1. Keep in mind, Arsenal have never been fucking relegated. So like those are probably shit odds. But you know, that's what you're looking at for a big team. Then you've got Spurs, 250 to 1. Man U, 150 to 1. Newcastle, 151. Villa, 100 to 1. Man City, 33 to 1. And if you look at other offshore books, 25 to 1. 30 to 1. It's in that region. And so I just find it incredibly interesting that these books are not pricing City the way they're pricing these other big teams. Like, all things created equal, assume no unfair play. There's not a chance in the world that that City are more likely to be relegated from the Premier League than Aston Villa, than Spurs.
Yeah, I think it's just because of the financial fair play.
Exactly. It's because they at least want to price in the possibility that Man City do suffer actual serious consequences. Now, is it still 25, 30 to 1? Yeah. And that's probably it's really interesting because you could really use that as like a litmus test as how likely is it that City are actually going to see a punishment so severe that it would send them out of the Premier League?
Could you imagine?
Oh my God.
Oh, trust me, I dream of it.
We know you do. You're probably the ones who called in the violations.
Yeah, I helped the Prem out during that decades worth of research.
Yeah, Sam was on the front lines.
Yeah, I mean, just very funny. Not even funny, just interesting. Just really interesting that you see that market open up and you're just like, okay, so they think it's within the realm of possibility that could happen.
Yeah.
So I guess we'll see. Nothing's going to happen anytime soon because Man City have been not complying with the investigation when asked for evidence, and they've denied every single possible charge rather than the other team. Because everyone says, oh, you know, you see Everton get docked points, you see Forest get docked points, you know, why can't they do that with City? And it's just like, okay, well, very clearly a singular violation is not going to take as much time to process than 115. And the difference with teams like Everton and Forest is they basically said, yes, we did do what you say, but here's why. And they basically offered mitigating circumstances to try and get a reduced penalty when it came to the points deduction. City have outright said, no, 115 times. And then when asked for evidence to corroborate that and assist in the investigation, they've refused to give it, which, by the way, is included in these 115 charges. Just failure to comply with this investigation. And it's just like, that's not how an innocent team acts, you know. That's not how any innocent party is not going to act like that.
True. I think it's also like you know, this sounds messed up, but I feel like City's probably slipping some money. Like, they're definitely not innocent, but they're definitely slipping some money in the right places or using their influence, you know, there's no way that City are going to just stand idle and let their squad get relegated because of it.
Mm-hmm. I mean,
Nope.
The news came out a day or two ago from the Athletic, which is a pretty reputable. I can't even say the word reputable. There we go. Just said it perfectly. The news came out that that City's financial charges had been discussed in the UK embassy in Abu Dhabi, but that they didn't want to discuss the nature of the charges because they thought it could damage UK relations abroad. And it's just like, I'm sorry, what? You don't want to discuss this more openly because you think it could piss off foreign diplomatic ties? Oh God, I mean, it's just that is just horrific. That could even come into play and affect the verdict here. I just think that's just it's so horrific. Nothing pisses me off more right now.
There's higher powers that control the strings, so
yeah,
it is what it is. I mean, I doubt we'll see anything happen. I'd be very surprised, but you never know.
We'll see. We will see. But yeah, okay. I think I've got the City title off my chest. I'm not sure if I've got Foden winning Player of the Year off my chest.
Oh boy.
Oh God.
But this is slightly different because I do think Foden's a good player. I just don't think there's any reason why he's the best player in the league. And I keep asking City fans this, and none of them can give me a straight answer. What do you guys think? Do you think Foden's the best player in the league?
When I was thinking about who I would vote to win Player of the Year, I wanted to find someone who was influential to the game, but they were also influential when things weren't going right or there were players out. And I went with Foden. Team won. When Haaland was out, he scored in almost every single game. And Haaland's arguably their best player. They're the Golden Boot winner. I think those intangibles are enough to mask the fact that he didn't lead in, I almost said rebounds. He didn't lead in assists or goals. And it's tough, right? Like you could literally pick 3 guys on that team of who you would select to be Player of the Year. I think it was fair enough. I couldn't pick Ollie Watkins. Ollie Watkins was great, but he had his games where he disappeared, and a couple of those games were against bottom half teams, and that's kind of where they have to draw a line and say, if you're not going to win, if you're not going to be second, you better freaking destroy the teams you destroy and have a major impact. And Watkins didn't for me. So this year, I think, was crazy because for me, it was more about eliminating players than picking players, if that makes sense. Like I was like, who can I cross off the list? As opposed to last year, it was like, I have these guys that I know for sure I'm going to be behind. So I think it was a pretty sorry year for Player of the Year. And not to take anything away from Foden, obviously, but I think it was a pretty sorry year in terms of candidates, at least reputable quality candidates.
Yeah, I agree with that. That's what I was going to say. I think the choices for Player of the Year were kind of slim, in my opinion. I was kind of thinking I went about thinking of it like this way. When I was betting or just on the team, if a lineup came out or if someone was injured, what's a player that would be like, okay, if this guy's out, like I'm just not touching them. I'm just not touching the team. Like for me, Foden wasn't one of them because they still had Haaland, they still have De Bruyne, they still got Silva, they still got, absolutely stacked. So, I mean, I hate to go back to the guy, but like for me, it was like if Cole Palmer wasn't in Chelsea's lineup, I like wasn't touching Chelsea. Like I wasn't touching their team total. I wasn't really interested in what they had to do. I wasn't interested in any Chelsea plays. Like, and then he comes back in the lineup, and you're just like, okay, boom, Palmer to score assists. Let me get Chelsea team total. Let me get the over in the game. Like everything, and it was like it just seemed just automatic, not automatic, but it seemed more confident, more playable when he was in the lineup. But I
want to ask you one thing before you keep going. I think you make a really good point. There were only 3 matches without Foden in the lineup. Did that change your opinion of your thought process? because there were more matches that Palmer was out, or that just didn't matter?
No, it just didn't matter because, like, for me, like, Foden had a great season. He's a
Yeah.
phenomenal player. I mean, you can't take anything away from the guy. Like, he scored some unbelievable goals. He had some great games. You know, a couple games he had a hat trick. I mean, that's just great for him. It was just for me, if Foden wasn't in the lineup, I wasn't like, okay, like I'm off City. You know, like I'm just not going to take City. Or I'm not going to look at their lines or that game. But like if Palmer was out for Chelsea, then it was like, like he drives that ship for them, and he showed it, and he showed up every game. I mean, what 22 goals, 11 assists, something like that. It just insane, you know. So and Foden's on a much better team with better skilled players to get him the ball and that he, you know, to pass him the ball and that he can, you know, play, you know, one touch with and everything. So I don't know. It's just I really enjoyed Palmer's season this year. I know obviously we talk about it on the Discord and
Yep.
we have fun on X and everything like that.
Made a
And
lot of money with him.
yeah, made ton of money with them, but like he just had a phenomenal season for me. And really I mean, that Chelsea end of the season was just unbelievable. I mean, they really turned the corner and just, I mean, to finish top 6 after it seemed like they were just going to finish at the bottom. Yeah, it was really fun to watch and not take nothing away from Foden. Like I said, great season. But for me, it was just I felt like Palmer was the most valuable player, I guess you could say, to his team than Foden was.
Fair.
Yeah. I don't disagree with that. I mean, I would not have given Palmer Player of the Year, but I think he has a much stronger case for it than Foden does, just because I think it's so incredibly hard to shine on Man City. Now, last year,
Yeah.
Haaland absolutely did it. I mean, he's just destroyed goal scoring records. You know, a lot of people probably thought that he deserved the Ballon d'Or over Messi. I know that was a massive debate when it happened, and I think it was a fair debate. I wouldn't say he was like the clear winner over Messi. I thought it was a very reasonable debate to have. It could have gone to either of them. This year he didn't do as well, but he still won the Golden Boot. You know, he still performed solidly well in Champions League, especially earlier on. And I just don't see Foden as like the standout star of Man City. You know, I mean, I personally don't think he's in their top 3. Like, I think Haaland, De Bruyne, and Rodri are more important players to City than Foden.
Yeah, I
yeah.
get what you're saying there, but it's not who's more important. It's who had the better season. And
True.
yeah, I'd eliminate De Bruyne out of there automatically, and then Haaland was really injured. So
Yeah, no, as in like I wouldn't give De Bruyne player of the season, but because he played half a season.
yeah,
But then you have to realize and you have to take a step back and go, hold on. De Bruyne played half a season. How many assists did De Bruyne have? He had 9 assists. How many assists did Foden have? He had 8. Like how? How can you have Julian Alvarez? We talked about last episode. Julian Alvarez had 9 assists. He's coming off the bench. Yes, he started a few games when Haaland was hurt. Maybe he had like a month's worth all in all of starting games over Haaland. 9 assists, and Foden has 8. Like how, when Foden is starting all but 3 games, I think you said, is that starting or just like in the squad? But he started a lot of games for City, but I just don't see how he can be player of the season when he's not even the standout player on his team. He had a very good season, and I don't want to take away a very good season, but it's the amount of recency bias. I know you're supposed to give awards based on this season, and it's not fair to compare to previous seasons, but the reason why he got so much hype is because he finally lived up to the hype that people had set for him for years and years and years that he never ever delivered on. And this is the first year he's delivered on it. And now everyone's just like, oh my God, he's this amazing player. He had a very good season, but I don't think one good season makes you a phenomenal player. You know, I've said this before. Cole Palmer had a fantastic season, but now, do you know what? Chelsea are going to be in Europa League. Okay, brilliant. Let's see him do it in Europe. Let's see him do this again next year with a new manager, and Nkunku's going to be healthy. You know, they're going to sign players for sure. They'll bring in a new player. Todd Bowley give him another $1 billion probably to spend. They'll bring in new players. Okay, brilliant. If he is that guy, you know, capital T, capital G, that guy, then he'll do. Maybe he won't put up the same numbers. Haaland didn't put up the same numbers this year, but I want to see 10, 15 goals, and we'll include penalties in there. He should still be taking penalties. I'm not one of those guys who's going to say penalties don't count. Penalties are very important, and he's very good at taking them. You know, I want to see 10, 15 goals. I want to see 10 assists. And if you can't do that again, then this is the one season wonder. And the same thing to Foden. You know, I want to see you play for the best team in the league. I want to see 15 goals. Oh, can you get to 10 assists? You're going to have the whole season. You can't let De Bruyne get 9 assists in half a season. And then as someone who plays as a winger and attacking mid, as in Phil Foden, and not get 10 assists. So that's what I want to see, you know?
I know that numbers don't always matter. And we've talked about this before on the podcast, you know, what the players do off the ball and things like that. Unfortunately, I didn't watch enough of Phil Foden off the ball to really say whether he was that difference maker or not. And I just wonder if that is the difference, you know, like what he was doing off the ball, the plays he was making, because obviously the stats are there, but he wasn't leading, you know, the Premier League in any of those stats. So obviously the stats weren't the decisive factor in him winning this trophy.
I'll tell you the decisive factor. You want to know the decisive factor? There are 3 of them. 1, he plays for City. 2, he's English. 3, he's young. That is exactly why.
Wait, I can't remember who was your selection. Like, who would have you bet? You would bet Ollie Watkins?
I mean, I think the fact that Rodri was not nominated is an absolute travesty. If Rodri makes the nomination, then I would vote for him. And then outside of that, my top 3 would be Rodri, and then probably Palmer, and then probably Ollie Watkins. I think just with relative and with overall performance and relative importance to their clubs, you know, as much as I love to make fun of the City fans who claim that Rodri still has his unbeaten streak, it's like, okay, guys, okay, good luck in the Champions League final, and congratulations on your Community Shield. Like he's not unbeaten. Like I like, you're gonna quote the technicality that if you lose on pens, the game ended in a tie. Like, no, fuck off.
Well, it did.
I understand technically it ended in a tie, but you lost that game.
I mean, you could put an asterisk next to
let you put the asterisk.
You know,
there's a massive fucking asterisk. But even if you take away, that's 2 games. That's 2 games that he lost on pens. You know, Rodri's importance to this squad, and especially when De Bruyne was out, he was absolutely bossing that midfield. And you know, this is why I want to say to City fans, like, I don't dislike Rodri as a player. I think he might be a bit of a shitty loser, but I think he's a very good player. And the fact that the fact that Rice, and I love Rice, the fact that Rice was nominated over Rodri, I think is ridiculous. I mean, the fact that Van Dijk was nominated for Player of the Season. I'm sorry, what? What?
You know what's funny? Wait, you know what's funny that you say that? Okay, so I try not to like use too many stats to make judgments about players, but basically just watch them on the pitch. And I didn't think he had that great of a year. And then I saw this before the nominations came out. I saw a big account put their 11 of the year, and he was in it. And I was like, what the hell? And then when he got nominated, I was like, no way. What did I miss?
That's what I'm saying. It just makes no sense. And it's why, and like, I know it sounds like I'm a bitter Arsenal fan. I understand what it sounds like, but I just think it takes away so much legitimacy from this award. And I would say that if Rice or Odegaard had won, you know, the fact that Rice is getting nominated over Rodri, the fact that Van Dijk is even in there at all, the fact that Odegaard and Rice got nominated over Saka, who I think is clearly the best player for the entire season for Arsenal. It's just, you know, I think those nominations are ridiculous, and I think the winner is pretty ridiculous too, even though, you know, at the end of the day, Foden did have a very good season, but it's because
I mean, at the end of the day, it comes down to everything, just like anything else in sports, you know, politics, money, popularity, you know, it's just it's it's always about the money grab, and
It's PR. Like if
of course, and it sucks because it takes away from seasons that Cole Palmer had, or like you're talking about with Rodri, just the unbelievable year he had and the importance to City that he was. And I don't know, it's hard to say if Foden deserved it or not. Like obviously he won, great, and you could say, I mean, I argued the Ballon d'Or last year, or last year with Messi and Holland. I was on the Holland side. I thought he should have won it. And again, to me, is just another politics, money grab, popularity. Obviously Messi's the bigger name. People want Messi. He won the World Cup, so they gave him the Ballon d'Or. Great. I think sometimes that's just what happens, unless you have like an unbelievable season where where no one can hide anything or be like, why didn't this guy win? Like, there's no way of hiding it. So it just sucks sometimes.
Yeah, it is what it is. It is what it is. Well, I think I've got that off my chest. I feel good. Do you guys feel good?
I feel good. I'm talking with the boys, so I feel good.
Alrighty. Well, I think I've probably, I've properly processed my emotions from the end of this Premier League season. I feel pretty good. I think we can move into the upcoming games for the midweek and for the final weekend. I think we can do that. You think we can do that, boys?
Yeah.
Okay. Deep breaths. Okay. Do you know what? I'm proud of myself. I made it through that. I think I was pretty reasonable. Okay. Well, first game that we have coming up is going to be on Wednesday, which is the day this is going to get put out. So today. And we have the Europa League final. Firstly, why the fuck is this in the middle of the day on a Wednesday?
It's stupid. It's so
It makes
stupid.
no sense.
It's always like that too, which is annoying.
But
I like having something to bet on or look at during the day. Like, I know. But like, if it wasn't on, I'd literally have nothing. So it's like
Atalanta's season, their league season, is still going on. The Serie A wraps up this weekend. European, these finals, like the FA Cup is this weekend, a week after the Premier League is done. Good, perfect time to have your final. The fact that we're having this final now, just in the middle, like Atalanta play again this weekend, it makes no sense to me. So that's the first thing I was just like, why? Like I was scrolling through the games for the week and I was just like, I'm sorry, what? And the Europa Conference League final is like in a week's time. The Champions League's like 2 weeks away. Why are we doing this now? I don't know. Makes no sense to me. But we have a Europa League final between Atalanta and Leverkusen. And this could be a good game. I mean, this is Leverkusen's chance to properly close out this truly undefeated season. They have to win this Europa League final, and then they have the German Domestic Cup, the DFK or DFB Pokal, whichever one it is, against like a second division side, I think, like someone who just somehow managed to get there. So they should win that, and that would be it. That would be an undefeated treble, not the treble, but a treble. That's very impressive.
Very impressive. I think that, this is my best bet, right? But also, if you didn't tell me on Leverkusen, then I'd only play it. I'm taking Leverkusen to win. Minus 130 is a good enough price. Atalanta are one of those teams, like they kind of remind me of Aston Villa in a way on how they're ending their season. Not because they're ending their season poorly, but just because they have so much tread on their tires and they're not really that deep. Like they're deep in the midfield, but outside of that, that's about it. And Leverkusen I think they just match up better. They'll be able to use pace. And what's cool about Leverkusen is they're not going to give them long spells of the ball. Like Atalanta are going to need long spells of the ball to make something happen. And Leverkusen just aren't going to do that. They're going to enjoy their possession, and they're going to shoot and shoot and shoot until they convert. So for me, it's Leverkusen to win. I like this. My best bet as well.
I like that.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a good match. I think Brad made a good point with Atalanta maybe being a little fatigued in this match, but I think they match up fairly well with Leverkusen. It's hard. I mean, you can't go against never losing. Yeah, never losing. Right now I'm leaning their team total. over 1.5 at minus 110, or I might go over 2.5 for the game at minus 110. Both great numbers in my opinion. I just haven't decided which way I'm going to go yet. Probably going to wait for lineups, even though I'm fairly confident and I know who's going to be starting on both sides. But yeah, I mean, Atalanta have been playing well. I mean, obviously it's on a neutral field or a neutral site, so no home field for either team. Yeah, I think it's. I feel like it's going to be like a 2-1. Maybe Atalanta can sneak by another one. It's like a 2-2 into penalties or something like that. But yeah, I don't see Leverkusen losing. It would shock me if Atalanta pulled up an upset here.
I like that. I was thinking, I do like the Leverkusen moneyline angle, and the unofficial lean that I gave out in my YouTube video to cover this game. I still haven't decided if I want to lock it in, and it will probably depend on the lineups. But I was thinking I'm throwing an under in here, under 3.5 total goals, and Leverkusen to lift the cup. It's about minus 109, and because we've talked about this before when we were talking about the Champions League final and other finals that are coming up. Unders usually tend to trend under because most teams just want to play it safe. No one wants to be that team that concedes first. Now, if you do concede a goal inside 15, 20 minutes, then the under is probably completely fucked because now the other team has to attack to stay back in this game, which means they're either going to score or they're going to leave themselves vulnerable at the back, and the other team that's up 1-0 is going to score again. So an early goal could completely blow it under out of the water. And this game definitely has. There's absolutely a scenario where this game ends 2-2 and someone gets a last-minute equalizer. And whether it's Atalanta, whether it's Leverkusen, and it could easily end 2-2. But I just think to get even money on that, under 3.5, the odds of there being 4 goals in a final are pretty slim.
Yeah.
And then it's great because if it ends 1-1 and it goes to extra time, then it doesn't matter what goals are scored in extra time. It doesn't matter how Leverkusen end up winning it because the under is only for regulation, which is, one of the nice things about betting is you kind of, it's miserable if you bet on player props and then your player goes and scores in extra time. And the poor people that don't know that that's a thing are just like, hey, why did my bet lose? The guy scored. It was just like, oh, I'm sorry, guys. That bet is dead. That bet died when the final whistle blew. And
yeah, so that for Leverkusen, I was looking this up. I think it was last night. Most of their goals come in the first 20 minutes and the last 20 minutes of all their matches. So right. Right in the middle of the match, right before halftime or right after halftime, they're just, I haven't looked at, I got to rewatch some games or something, but it looks like maybe they're just slowing it down or just kind of trying to get maybe their legs back or to maybe tire out whoever they're playing. And then they just turn it on at the end of the game. So if they just come out flying and put a goal early, it's going to be wide open because Atalanta are that team that will press and they'll go for it, and they could get it. I mean, they have the skill to definitely get equalizer right away. But I think they'll leave them super vulnerable to the counter if that early goal comes, and it could open things wide up.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, that's what worries me because I know if I take under 3.5, then someone's scoring right away. In the first 10 minutes, I'll just be like, shit. So this is a real sweat. Maybe you just bite the bullet on Leverkusen money line. Maybe you try and wait a bit and try and catch Leverkusen to lift the cup. Maybe Atalanta score first, then you can just hit Leverkusen to lift the cup, or Leverkusen double chance, whatever one is a nicer number, and just go from there. That would be my ideal thing. Let Atalanta score first, so I can just live bet Leverkusen, who quite literally have never lost. So that would be fun.
Yeah, they'd probably give you a pretty solid double chance price too, because the money line's minus 130, so they go down, or at least you get draw no bet at plus 125 or something like that.
Yeah, that would be nice. But yeah, that's the Europa League final. That'll be a fun game. I'm looking forward to it. So that brings us very nicely to this weekend, and we still have a couple of leagues going on. La Liga has to wrap up. Serie A has to wrap up. I'll start with La Liga because basically everything is wrapped up. Their European qualification done. Title was won ages ago, and the relegation battle is over. So there's basically nothing to play for here. So I'm not even sure that I'm going to touch any of these La Liga games, apart from maybe the Madrid game, mostly depending on who starts. Because if they throw the youngsters out there, then we've got some guys that I like to bet on. Like I like Artigula, I like Brahim Diaz, guys like that. They're still, they're balling. Or we get to see the main starters who are going to play in the Champions League final, which I think is probably more likely in a game against Betis, which should be a good one. And then we can see who wants to impress. Give me Tony Cruz props, baby. Give me Tony Cruz props.
That one hurt today.
Oh man, yes. He said at least he's trending.
Yeah, that was
That was
so
funny. That was so funny. Yeah, that Real Madrid Betis game should be a good one. I think it doesn't matter who Madrid put out there. It just seems like, if they put the youngsters out there, they're just going for it, and it's super exciting to watch. I wish obviously Isco was not injured for Betis.
Yeah, dude, that sucks.
I was so ready for that. I was going to bet because you look at players that score against Madrid in La Liga, and like half of them are ex-Madrid players.
Yeah. And he's just been balling all year, and he's been. I mean, he's like, I feel like he's like the Cole Palmer for Betis. I mean, he drives that ship for them. He really does, and it's just. So I mean, he doesn't have the stats like Cole Palmer, but he's always just.
Yeah,
always touching the ball, always creating chances.
He's also like 30 years old, to be fair. This man's been around
which is crazy, but he was having such a good year. It sucks that he got hurt.
And he's missing the Euros too. That sucks. Like he got so hurt that he's missing the Euros.
I know. I wanted to see him too. This game would have been awesome to see him play back in Madrid too.
I know. Yeah, it's a real bummer, but. Yeah, it's going to depend on who starts for this game. But outside of this game, unless they give me bettable odds on Fermin Lopez to take shots for Barcelona, I don't think I'm touching it. But I also think that market might be cooked because I checked last weekend and he was plus 270 for 3 first-half shots. I'm just like, guys, come on, that sucks. This man was like 2,000 back in the day. So I think that market is well and truly cooked, unfortunately. I'm like, he's good, but he's not that good. So outside of that, there's nothing in La Liga that really interests me. Anything that interests you guys?
Not in La Liga, no. I just have some thoughts circled in Serie A that I'm like, circled all week.
Nice. Well, that's what I want to talk about because we actually do have some stuff going on in Serie A, mostly the relegation battle. So it's the final weekend of Serie A. Also weird that both of these leagues do not play their final league games at the same time. Like, that should be standard at this point to prevent any potential match fixing. So I don't know why they do that, but it's not helping the allegations against La Liga and Serie A. The fact that these games do not get played at the same time is a massive red flag in my opinion. But they're happening anyway, so we got to talk about them. So the relegation battle in Serie A is actually really close because I think there are still 4 teams that can go down in this potential last spot at 18th. So the way the situation looks right now is in 15th place, we have Cagliari on 36 points. Then we have Frosinone, I think that's how you say it, on 35. Udinese on 34. And then in the relegation zone is Empoli on 33. So 4 teams all within 3 points of each other, which is kind of crazy. And what's wild is that Frosinone and Udinese play each other on the last day, which I think is awesome. And a tie helps neither of them. Because if Empoli win that game, that puts them on 36. And then Frosinone would be on, they're on 35, and Udinese are on 34. So if they get a tie, then it's going down to goal difference at that point. And Empoli are only 2 goal difference behind Frosinone. So a tie is not what you want in that game.
Yeah. God, there's some good games and some good fades. Let me talk about this game. I'm really excited to fade these 2 games. Number 1, Verona versus Milan, versus Inter, excuse me. Bet Inter with every single penny that you have. Verona secured qualification last match, and they've already started talking about like what they're going to do midweek party. So they're going to have their little midweek party going on. Milan have already, Inter, I keep saying Milan. Inter have already had their party, right? They partied midweek last week and then had their final celebration on the weekend. Another one that I like, another fade that I like in this league because of the party, I like Genoa double chance or draw no bet against Bologna. Bologna have a party parade scheduled for tomorrow. They're going to be partying all day tomorrow, drinking, driving through the streets, and then taking training off on Thursday to recover. So that's a lot of time off. You know, they're not going to be focused on the road. I think it's going to be pretty exciting to watch.
I like that.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I don't know how I feel about the party thing. It just,
I think it's very fair.
it is fair.
It happens
I mean,
like pretty much every league.
I mean, I heard it with Real Madrid that Real Madrid were going to be hungover for their party, and then they go out and score like 5 goals and just
Madrid are
absolutely demolished.
Madrid seasons aren't over. Like, you have to remember, Madrid still
it was La Liga was over.
No, I'm saying Madrid can't take their foot off the gas because they still have a Champions League final to worry about. That's what I'm saying. Like, these teams have nothing to worry about. Like, they can take out all focus. Madrid are a team of full professionals who know that they have to be at their very best despite partying, because if there's any chink in their armor heading into the final, that stuff kind of can carry on, and their manager is good enough to know when to light the fire on them. I'm a big believer in the nothing to play for fade. It happens with every team, and especially in Italy where goals are so hard to come by, right? Like 2 weeks ago, Lecce played against Udinese at home. They had their party midweek, or it was on the weekend and they played midweek, one of the two. Udinese scored a goal. Lecce did not even remotely try to score. They literally walked every possession because, to them, their fans are having a celebration in the thing. They had their party. They're tired. There's no reason to just go to have strenuous activity on your body, strain yourself. Like, I'm a big fader in these end of the year teams that have parties. I don't know if Madrid actually had a party yet. Like, I don't think they would have had their party, but like, these are real parties that happen, that are scheduled. And so I'm like okay with fading it because I know they're happening. Like, you see these parades in the United States, right? Like, the players drinking beers, pouring beers down each other's throats, shotgunning. Like, you don't recover from that right away.
Yeah, you just see pictures of Grealish whenever Grealish goes out for the city parties. He's got
God.
Man's got like 2 bottles of champagne, just like pouring it into his mouth. It's just like, all right.
Grealish knows how to
we
party,
get it.
bro.
Like, we get it.
Yeah, Grealish should party. I think for the Udinese match, I'm kind of leaning both teams to score because I was thinking the same thing that Sam said. A draw doesn't help either side. I know that Empoli have a tough matchup at home versus Roma. I don't know if they'll be able to get a win here, but they could. I mean, we've seen Roma falter to lesser sides, especially on the road. So, they could certainly get the win here, which forces, both of those squads to kind of go for it. Right now, that both teams' score is like hovering at minus 130. I don't hate it. I think I would take that for some Serie A action this weekend. But yeah, other than that, it'll probably be like a live look type day to see how serious these teams take these matches.
Yeah. It's funny too, dude, right? Like, God, I felt like when I'm watching these games for the past 2 weeks, I'm like, this team literally does not care.
Yeah. It's crazy.
So many teams like that.
Yeah, there was a couple games where they were just like literally walking to the ball.
Yeah.
That's just average. That's just average Serie A pace. Just watch the league. That's how they play normally.
Well, they cared a little bit too much in Bologna versus Juventus. That one.
That game was wild.
God.
That was a sick game.
What a game!
Not for my bet.
No, not for your bet.
That was a fun game.
That was awesome.
It was a great game to watch, though. And as a Juve supporter, it was really nice to be like, okay, like our interim coach manager did it his way for the final 25 minutes, and the team looked like they were having fun.
Yeah, you got 3 goals in like 7 or 8 minutes. That
was crazy.
Very exciting. I was so bummed because I knew exactly who I wanted to bet on the Bologna side. They just got this new striker from Argentina that had never started a game before. Dude was 19. So I lauded his shots, and I was just like, if you're 19 years old starting at home and you're playing against Juventus, you're going to want to rip shots. Like, this is your time to shine, baby. The dude had 1 shot, a goal, and an assist.
Yeah.
And it's just like, and he got subbed out after an hour. And like, I thought he might get subbed after an hour, but I thought maybe they give him a bit of a run because there was not much else to play for. And I was just like, how can you? Oh, it's just so annoying when you take the shots and you did not expect that kind of efficiency from a 19-year-old. You get your first goal on a singular shot, and then you also get an assist just to rub it in. And it's just like, it's one of those games where you can't even be mad because it's not like the guy played badly, played fucking very well, in fact, to get a goal and assist against Juventus. And then, just didn't cash my bet. And I'm just like, oh, well, it is what it is. But it was a fun one to watch for sure.
It was an epic game.
Yeah, no, it was awesome. Any other games in Italy we want to talk about? Then I have one other game I want to mention, which will transition us very nicely into our best bets.
No, I don't have anything else in Italy.
Brilliant.
Nope.
Alrighty, well, that takes me to the last game I want to talk about, which is the Championship playoff final. This is the game that we all kind of knew was coming. It was always going to be Leeds against Southampton for the final spot in the Premier League. I mean, I said this last time, but again, I think it's absolutely ridiculous that one of these teams has to stay in the Championship. That's just brutal. I mean, like I said this last time, but Leeds, the first club in Championship history to get 90 points and not get automatic promotion. So one might say that Leeds deserve it, but it's not really about who deserves it. It's about who's going to turn up on the day. And even though the other games, at least the first legs of these semifinals, were sort of 0-0, very cagey, the second legs really opened up. And these are two incredibly, very attacking sides that both of them are really sides that were just like, we will score 3 or 4 and we will concede 2 or 3 and we will just try and outscore you. So even though that I think there will be a little bit more caution, I'm going to put that aside and just take this number, because if I was offered this number during the league, I would have taken it hands down. But this will transition us very nicely into our best bets. My best bet for this weekend is both teams to score for Leeds against Southampton. This is minus 138 on FanDuel, and it's it's nuts. It's about minus 150 elsewhere, like maybe minus 145, but minus 138 is just about bettable for me to take straight for two of the highest scoring teams in this entire league. And really all it takes is just give me a goal in the first half. Just give me one goal in the first half and then force that game to open up as early as possible. And I think that is such an incredibly doable thing.
Can I ask you, who do you think's gonna advance?
I think Leeds, personally. Yeah,
I'm on Leeds too.
I would say Leeds, and I would honestly prefer that. I mean, I like both of these teams, but and I'm speaking purely as an Arsenal fan here, Southampton are such a fucking bogey team for us. Like we had that 3-3 tie in the end of the season run in last season. They're always such a difficult team for us, and they should never be. Whereas Leeds is just like, yeah, we can handle that. So, yeah, give me Leeds, please.
Yeah. This game should be a good one. I don't know. These, I worry it's going to be like cagey, and I worry it's going to be like a 0-0 game, and I really hope it's not. But I like the both teams to score play, and I'm leaning Leeds. And so for me, I don't know where I'm going to go yet. I might do like, depending on lineups and depending on how I'm feeling, if I reading things leading up to the match, Leeds team total is a good number, because I think they're going to have to score 2, and I think they could maybe even win 2-0. I mean, not I hope they don't for your sake, but yeah, I like Leeds in this one. I don't know yet how I'm going to attack it. Right now, I'm leaning Leeds team total and maybe Leeds to lift the trophy, which it's like hovering around minus 150, which is a little too expensive for me. I might try and grab it live. But yeah, that's kind of where I'm at on this one.
Fair enough. Well, that's my best bet for this weekend. So that'll take us nicely into the rest of them. Brad, you touched on yours briefly in our earlier segment, but just to keep them all nice and segmented, what's your best bet?
I am taking Leverkusen money line, and I want to be transparent. I'm not physically betting this because I already have Leverkusen 18-1 to win Europa, so I'll be rooting for Leverkusen, but I do think they win this in regulation. Fair enough.
I'm going to France on Saturday. I believe this match is. Yeah, Saturday. Copa de France, Lyon versus PSG. Lyon's just, I've been playing them ever since they really started to turn their season around. I've been playing their totals and team totals and everything like that. And obviously, we know what PSG is going to do, and that their defense has been shady at best. So give me Lyon to score a couple in this game. Give me PSG to score a couple in this game. Over 3 at plus 100 is my play for this one.
Nice. Beautiful. Well, those are the best bets, which wraps this up very nicely. Gentlemen, anything else you want to add before we hit our little wrap up?
No, man, it's been fun. It's been a fun season, right? Like, what's great too is we get like a week or two breather, and then we go straight into Copa America and Euro 24. So
I'm looking forward to that.
Yeah,
a
it's
lot.
gonna be fun.
Should be good. Alrighty. Well, this is going to be the only episode that we have out for this week. Just going to move for a brief period of time. We'll bring it back to twice a week once the Euros and the Copa America are back on. But shifting briefly to once a week, I'm going to be traveling, so we've got to get some episodes ready to go. But I'll be in England for my friend's wedding. I was at the bachelor party earlier, which I was talking about on the podcast. But now it's time for the wedding, which probably. I was about to say probably won't be as fun. It'll be nice, but a different kind of fun. It's a different kind of fun.
I hope you heard that. I hope your buddies listening heard that.
He definitely does not listen to this podcast, but he would know that it'll be very nice. It'll be, a lovely experience. And I will be conscious for all of it. So that'll be great. But that'll be great. Yeah, so we're gonna record an episode where we go through our own personal season awards, which I think will be a lot of fun. We're gonna do it NBA style, so we'll do a player of the season, but this is not just for the Premier League. We're gonna do it for the top leagues in Europe, so not just Prem, but like Bundesliga, La Liga, all the other European leagues are involved as well. We'll do a player of the season, manager of the season. I was gonna say 6th man of the year, but I guess technically it would be 12th man of the year for like super sub. And I'm sure we can have a couple of ones as well. This was actually a tweet that someone gave us for an idea. Got to be like a month or so ago. And I was just like, this is an awesome idea, but we got to table this one because we got to talk about games. But this would be perfect for the end of the season. So looking forward to that. So that's what we've got coming up. That'll be out next week. Looking forward to that one. I'll just put a little bit of research into that one as well. Bring some stats to the table, like I love to do. But yeah. Before we say goodbye, boys, anything you guys want to plug?
Just follow me on X at MrBradThomas. You can see beautiful pictures of me smiling. That's the only thing I want to plug. Good vibes.
Beautiful.
Follow me on X, BettingThePitch. All my plays are posted at Gold Boys Discord. So if you're looking for more plays, more action, come join.
Absolutely. You can join us at goldboys.com. And again, thank you very much to the Gold Boys Network for continuing to host this podcast. You can find me on Twitter at FIFA Brit. And yeah, best of luck with all of your bets. Hope you guys enjoy watching the Europa League final. And if you have any action for the final weekend of European domestic soccer, best luck with all of that as well. We will catch you guys next week. And yeah, have a good one. Peace out.